All right, so I have Jayden Westland, right? Jayden Westland with me on the podcast. Jayden, welcome.
You so much for having me.
Yeah, and like we were just talking before we got on, we've had a little bit of scheduling issues before finally sitting down. So I'm glad this is finally happening. Um,
I know, me too.
and I'm curious, the first thing I want to know about you is I know a little bit about you from a previous person that I interviewed, Bryce Elizabeth, actually. And you are also
Yes.
somebody who is on the Cape and you're kind of working on establishing yourself as a recording artist. So is
Yeah.
music something that you want to pursue full time at this point?
I've been very in and out of the thought of pursuing it full time. I'm actually currently a gardening landscaper. So that's like my day job. I always say I'm like a landscaper by day and a musician by night.
Right.
But right now in my life, I'm definitely working towards like finding myself as an artist and kind of figuring out where I want to go with it. I absolutely love writing music and putting out my own music and whatnot. So I would love to see myself eventually get to that point where I can use that as my career. I'm just kind of figuring out the steps to get there. So eventually, I definitely see it as a possibility to want to do that.
What are some things that you're doing to kind of help you realize what it is you want to do? Like you said, you like writing, so I assume you must write like
Yeah.
pretty consistently
Yeah.
while you're not on your day job.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I like started like it's been in my life my whole life. Like my family's very musical. My dad's a poet and he's written like a lot his whole life. So I started writing when I was probably in like high school, and I would start by just like we had like class projects in English or something, and like you'd have to write a poem, and I would literally turn it into a song and bring my guitar into class and kind of perform it. So I started like with that. So it's probably the easiest, most successful way to do it.
Mhm.
And by like kind of finding myself, I mean, just as I get older with my experiences, like dating, especially dating, like everyone goes through it, like
Oh yeah.
that's where most of my inspiration comes from. And just like seeing the world change so much and people and like my friends, my family, like there's so many different influences I have so much to write about like all the time, so I
hmm
constantly always have like my mind brewing. But I typically try to write at least like one song a month if because life gets crazy in general and whatnot. And I play out a lot as well.
hmm
So to balance like landscaping, playing out, and to just write music, like it's definitely a lot to balance. But I try to write as much as possible, and I probably have about 100 songs written
Oh
in the
wow.
span of like I don't know 6 years,
Okay,
something
that's
like that.
pretty good. Yeah, I
So
thought you were about to say like 100 in like a month, and I was gonna be absolutely astonished by
oh no,
that.
oh I would be astounded by that.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
amazing.
But some people do that. Some people get paid the big
Right,
bucks to do that kind of stuff. So I mean, you never know. And if it
right,
sounds like if you were to carry the passion and the interest that you've had for so long, like you mentioned from your childhood, from high school, like you could
right,
definitely be writing full time, which sounds like something that it
right.
is. Even if you're not
Yeah,
singing, that sounds like something you'd be happy
right.
doing.
Definitely. I always said like if I had the choice to choose between like performing and to write, I would choose writing any day because
hmm
I kind of look at it as like one can like take a song and do karaoke with it or sing someone else's song, but it's so different to be able to write it from experience and to connect with so many people. Like obviously singers are very appreciated, and I appreciate an amazing singer that can connect with the song they didn't even write, but to
hmm
be the one like behind that, like making the magic, is like the coolest thing to me. Like to sit there and be like, wow, I can literally connect to like thousands of people with my own experience, and it's such a vulnerable but like beautiful thing to me.
hmm Who are some of your, I'm curious now, like who are some of your writing or greatest like songwriting influences, like artists too, that kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, do you have like
Right.
any like musicians like that excel like in songwriting that you really admire?
Um, I I really keep up with a lot of like new artists. Like in like I go to Nashville usually a couple times a year. So a couple
hmm
times a year I have a good friend that lives there. And so a new and upcoming artist I love. Her name is Kylie Morgan. She's
hmm
on like the verge of pop country, and she's just amazing. Like she has a beautiful voice and her character is just so well formed, and she's very real and raw in her music. I definitely love her. And then I love like Julia Michaels. She's a pop artist, of course. And then on more like the countryside, I really appreciate like Eric Church and like Miranda Lambert, Lainey Wilson, she's like up and coming. And then probably like Kaylee Hammock, she's also an up and coming female country artist. So
Right.
I've got quite a few.
And you just disclosed basically your whole like genre right there. Is like you kind of float that line between country pop, which I also noticed because you do have a song that you put out, I believe earlier this year in January, called Are You Gonna Mind? So what was that experience like, putting out a song?
It was so different than I expected. Like you always see on like social media, like you follow your favorite influencers, your favorite artists, and you see them just be like, hey, go pre-save my song and this is gonna be when it comes out. And you never see like the work put into it, but like to actually step into a studio and like talk to someone about like what you want to give off for a feeling, up until like going online and like uploading that file and putting all the little details of even just like your title, your name, like your like the photo cover of it, and it's everything is so much more complex than like I expected. And a lot of people, like you see on TikTok, a huge trend is being like, oh, if I get like 3,000 likes on this video, like I'll put this song out. And it's actually like a fun fact, you have to put your song on a release date a month before at least. So when people post that, to know that is so interesting. It's like, oh, like as a musician, I'm like, now I know that like this is their teaser. Like they just want people to obviously pre-save, and it's of course very helpful, but it's little details like that I would never have thought about before. So it's definitely like very interesting.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. Like you said, thinking about all the back end stuff that people like me, like I wouldn't know about that stuff. Like I've talked to a few artists here and there, and we talk about like the song releasing process, but as like somebody like yourself, where you're really trying to establish yourself and put out your music for the first time, that's like a lot to consider and a lot that you have to like take in.
Definitely. And to put something out, like especially with that song, like it's such a vulnerable song for me. Like I wrote that off of like my most mature like relationship, and whereas this guy, I was with him for a little over a year, and just from when we dated, like we were very very similar, everything worked really well, and he just broke up with me out of the blue. And my whole point of the song was just like, are you really going to care when I move on to someone else and he does all the same things, blah blah blah. And it's to put something like that into a song that's so vulnerable and open is such a scary like feeling, because you're just like, I'm literally like, and like my friends know who it's about, like he knows it's about him, like it's a very like vulnerable place to put yourself in, but it's also like the most amazing thing ever because other people feel that way. So it's very rewarding.
That must be like so awkward, like if you were to like see him or something like that. Like it's the Cape, so it's a small place, so you never know.
Right. Oh, I know. I haven't really seen him out in public, thank God. But it's definitely like I think about it, I'm like his family still has me on social media, and like they've probably heard it and we're like, oh wow, that was definitely like about him.
Oh my
god. But at the end of the day, I joke around, I'm like, everyone calls me Taylor Swift, but in reality, every musician is Taylor Swift, because we all write about our experiences and our exes and whatnot. So
that's awesome. And then what is the reception been like to that song? Like you mentioned your friends and people have heard it like in your area, I assume. So what's it been like finally putting something out there?
It's been really cool. My goal with it was to get like 1,000 streams in general. Like I was like, I just wanted to reach 1,000 times being played. That would just be like, that was my absolute goal. And I actually went on, there's multiple apps for like Apple, Spotify, Pandora that are all like artist apps, and you can log in, see your streaming, whatever. And the other day I actually went on Spotify and I'm at like 1,039 streams, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I looked on Apple and I had like 500 on Apple, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is so cool. Like I hit my goal, and I've gotten, all my friends have been so supportive of it. Like they've posted my song that I'm actually wearing my merch right now.
Awesome.
So I like did a whole order of merch and like did a logo, and like I really like promoted it as much as I could like locally. Like I'm not huge into social media, like especially like TikTok. I'm like an old lady when it comes to that. I barely know how to use TikTok. So for like not really putting it out so much like social media wise, I feel like I've gotten a lot of good feedback from my friends, my family, and even people that I meet out at my gigs and like strangers and whatnot. So I feel like locally I'm like very proud of those numbers, even though they're small to other people, they're like huge to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Yeah. And then have you performed the song like around some of the spots that you usually perform in the Cape?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I started out going to open mics in general when I was a little bit younger, when I was like 19. So I'll go to open mics now as well, and
Hmm.
I'll play that out. And typically when I play out at a bar, like at my own gig, I'll do probably like 3 or 4 originals like throughout the night. And I've definitely played that song like many of times. And to promote it, it's a good way to kind of talk to the audience, say like,
Yeah.
hey, you can actually find this on, you know, Spotify and Apple. And it's been really cool to be able to do that.
Well, you mentioned you perform a few other originals. So are you thinking about putting more music out there, maybe doing like a fuller project or something?
Definitely. I really want to look to do, I want to at least do an EP probably like next winter. I have so many songs I want to release so bad. It's a lot of it's, you know, financial stuff. It's expensive to do it. But I would love to all my music out if I could. So I definitely want to work towards putting more out for sure.
Right, yeah, definitely. What are some like your favorite other songs to perform? I'm assuming you do a lot of covers, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm kind of, oh gosh, I'm like all over the grid. I do really anything from like pop, country, classic rock. I want to say my favorite songs are probably like Drink in My Hand by Eric Church,
Mm.
um, My Church by Maren Morris. I love doing like Maroon 5. They're so much fun to do. And I'm trying to think, like I love to do mashups. That's like a huge thing of mine. So I actually have a mashup of No Diggity, and then Pony by Genuine, and
Oh
then Thrift
boy.
Shop.
That's amazing.
It's a lot. It's like it's more of like my like young crowd I'll do it with, and they don't obviously care about the raunchiness of some of those songs. But I also will do like some Britney Spears, like I'll like in sync, like I'll do mashups of like a bunch of different songs. So it's probably like my favorite to do. It's a
Hmm.
lot of fun.
You say younger audience too. Are you attracting like older people at your gigs, or is that just like a thing
Yeah,
at the, or just something that like happens at the places you're playing? I assume
right.
just that kind of
Um,
clientele.
right. It's kind of both. Yeah. I do have I play a lot at Cohog Public in Falmouth. That's like I've
Mhm.
been playing there for probably 4 years. And the audience like knows me there now, and like it's a dive bar, and they have a lot of regulars that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they'll come right up to me and be like, oh, like how are you doing, and like they'll kind of
Yeah.
follow me there and whatnot. But that's definitely also a huge place where I have like a lot of my own friends come, so I get like a really good variety of people, like
Hmm.
anything from a kid, like a toddler, up into a grandparent. Like I try to accommodate everyone in my music, and I love to have like a huge range. Like I want to be able to play anything and make everyone happy. So
Hmm. Totally. Yeah. I want to bring it back to when you were talking about your friend in Nashville and going to Nashville often.
mhm,
Does that, I assume that must be a huge like creative boost. Like Nashville is Music City. Like
definitely.
so many people come there to like build their careers and to collaborate. So what are some of the things you've taken away from that? Like talk a little bit more about like your Nashville trips.
Oh my gosh, it's literally my favorite city in the world. I I can't even like express how like just magical it is being able to go there and just they have what is called like writers rounds. I don't know if you're familiar where a writers round they actually have a lot in more towards like the North Shore now and like Boston. And I've actually been playing a lot in them recently, but I love going
Mhm.
to writers rounds because they're typically 3 to 4 people sitting on a stage and they're all playing music that they've written, not necessarily that they perform. It could be one of Eric Church's writers or like Luke Combs or Maren Morris or anyone. And it's so cool being able to see these people that are either really successful or you see the up and coming artists like someone like me more on the smaller fish in a big pond kind of deal, and to see them like flourish with like all their music, like that alone is so inspiring, is to see people like take the subject of whatever it is, whether it's a relationship or work or like a party or whatever it is, and to see them all like rewrite it so many times and to bring like a new light to those like subjects is just that alone is like so inspiring to see that and to just see so many people grow now. Like I've met so many people there that like my good friend is friends with. So like I've made so many connections through social media with them. And like I've seen like so many of them like blow up or like just flourish so much. It's like so inspiring to see all that. And I would, of course, like love to move there one day and also pursue writing as well.
Yeah,
So,
well, like you said, you already got the connects and you already seem to have your foot in the door there, essentially. So it feels like it could be a very
right.
easy transition.
Definitely. It really is just like taking the time to, save up to move and, not feel like I'm too scared for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough like making the jump, especially like when you're in your 20s, like early mid 20s, and you're still trying to
Right.
like figure things out. And like you said, you're still like
Right.
figuring out how to balance your music with like your day job and things like that. So it can be a big jump and it can be scary.
Right. Definitely. And it's tough getting out of your comfort zone. And I personally like love my day job. Like I love where I work and what I do. So I think about it all the time. I'm like, man, I like actually love my job. And it's not like very often people say that.
Right.
So I'm always like so in between. I'm like, do I want to progress with this company and keep growing with them? Or do I go off and, do my own thing and kind of start refiguring it out and restarting? So it's always
Mm.
like scary to do that. But I know at the same time, like the day I make the move, which I know I will eventually, like it's going to be very worth it. And I know it's just like, got to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, you talk about loving your job. Do your coworkers know about your music interests and your songwriting and stuff?
Yeah, they actually, my coworkers and like my manager have come out to my gigs before, and they're always like very supportive of that. That was a huge part of when I started working at my current job a year ago, and in my interview, I was like the one thing that like I put almost above everything is like my gigs. Like I need to play out in the summer, like that's my second income, and I love it. And they were so accommodating to it. They were like,
Mm.
do whatever you have to do, just let us know like your schedule and go for it. Like they're amazing with like supporting me and like not holding me back for because of my day job. Like they're very understanding, and it's something I like really appreciate because not a lot of jobs will do that. They want you to
Yeah.
bend and break your back no matter what. So
Like literally in your case, because you work in landscaping too.
literally, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I love that you just
Yeah.
brought up the idea like performing for the summer because I did go on your Instagram before we started and I saw you posted this really dope selfie. And I think the caption was something along the lines of can't wait to be like cheesing during summer gigs again. So
So
I can
true.
just tell you're so ready for summer. Like, are you just itching to get back
So
out
ready.
there and play like those gigs?
Absolutely. I have more gigs this summer coming up than I've ever had before in like one season. Like I think in June alone, I think I have 16 gigs. And that's like not even fully like booked yet. Like I still have some places I'm waiting on dates, and to be working like full time at my normal job and to have those like it's so like fulfilling for me. Like it's my absolute favorite thing. Like there's so many days I'll get out of work like landscaping at 4 o'clock and I will literally drive to a gig to play 5 to 8. And like
Jeez.
it's the longest day, but it is like so like I don't know, it's keeps me moving so much, and like I love the grind of it. Like it's so like healthy for me to be so busy. Like I love it.
Yeah, and that's
And
something,
living on the Cape is beautiful.
yeah, I was gonna say, and that's something people in your situation, like they'll get it, like they understand, like this is something you're working for. Of course, you're gonna like do a pull like a 12-hour day
Right.
sometimes to like do what you
Yep.
really want to do.
Exactly. For sure. And I'm so lucky because all the places I play, like living on the Cape alone, it's so beautiful in the summer here. Like everything's flourishing and just like the ocean. Like, so pretty much every venue I'm at is just
Hmm.
the view alone is just awesome. I'm gonna be playing at the Hyannis Raw Bar a lot this summer, every Friday actually. And that's like one spot. I'm like, it's outside, it's just like the breeze, the water's right there. Like just to be
Mm.
able to do that, I'm like, I'm so lucky to like love my job that much and to be able to enjoy it.
You must get like more connections too. Like the Cape is such a big like summer spot, like we just said. So like you must get like a lot more like fans or people discovering you during the summer months too, I assume.
Definitely, yeah. And I always carry like a bunch of business cards with me, but I definitely have a lot of people that would just come up to me and like leave a really nice tip and grab a business card, and just to get like compliments from people, especially actually at the Hannah's Raw Bar, it's right next to a hotel.
Hmm.
So many people are checking in on a Friday night and staying for the weekend, and they'll come down for a drink and they'll sit there and ask me a bunch of questions. And it's nice to be able, I'm such a people person. I love being able to interact with people and just talk to them about everything and anything. So it's definitely very beneficial in that way. You never
Yeah.
know who you can meet.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, Jayden, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Of
Before we
course.
wrap this up, why don't you let people know where they can like find your music, follow you on social media, maybe even throw out some other
Definitely.
places you might be performing soon.
Definitely. So my Instagram and my Facebook are both just Jayden Westland Music, Jayden, and then Westland, just like how it sounds. And then I have my single on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, like pretty much every streaming platform. And the song is called "Are You Gonna Mind?" with the question mark in the end. And then this summer I will be playing at a ton of places, including well, like I said, the Hannah's Raw Bar every Friday night. I'll be up at Clean Anchor in Dennisport, Southside Cantina in Dennisport, Co-op Republic in Falmouth, and a bunch of other more places. So if anyone follows my Facebook page specifically, I'll put all my events on there and it'll have everywhere I'm playing this whole summer. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, awesome. Best of luck to you with everything. I'm excited for you to get
Thank
back out
you.
there and just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me and taking the time out of your schedule as well to talk to me about it. I appreciate it very much.